Hey guys, today we are working on episode 9. When you open it up, you'll probably see this little warning box. Don't worry about it, just hit close. And we're going to zoom out, control minus. Here you can hit control 0 to center in on the first page. You'll notice it included all the information we did from episode 8. So we're going to duplicate a lot of that information. And the nice part is this one is really fast in comparison. So we're going to learn a few different topics today. Number one is we'll start with ungrouped vectors and grouped vectors. So this is something we'll use quite a bit in Illustrator. Very rarely are we just working with like one basic shape. We're usually working with a combination of them, but a lot of times we want to group them together so it's a lot easier to move and manipulate them. So what I'm going to do is use Alt-click to duplicate some of these shapes from before and drag them to the episode 9 paper. So I'm going to use my black arrow. I'm going to start with this diamond shape. Click on it. I'm going to Alt, and then you can see holding down Alt, I have two mouse heads there, and Alt-click to drag that over. Just try and get it close. Click, Alt-click on my square. Okay. Alt-click on my triangle. And then Alt-click on my circle. Perfect. Okay, so that's all I needed to do for part 1. I want them ungrouped, meaning that I should be able to pull it apart and I can move each piece individually. Okay. Now for grouped vectors, I want them all to stick together. So since this looks the same, I'm just going to use my black arrow and draw this box around here so everything's selected. Alt-click and drag it over. Now, the only thing I need to do here is I need to group it. So everything's already selected for me, and then I'm going to hit Control G on my keyboard to group it. So I'm going to try and remove the circle, but as you notice, I can't because everything's grouped together. Okay, so in the future, if you ever want to ungroup something, you can. You would just use Control Shift G. Okay. So the first and second are going to look pretty similar. All right, now we're going to compound these 4 shapes into one. So let's do the same thing by drawing a box around my shapes. Alt-click to duplicate and drag them. Okay. And I need to compound them. So we're going to use our Pathfinder. So we're going to go to Window, Pathfinder, and it's going to be the first one. We're going to hit Unite. Perfect. So the key here, I want to see that they're all connected into one shape, and I want an outline around it. I don't care if you want to pick a different color for that, but I do need to see an outline. Super. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to fill it with a gradient. So let's click, Alt-click, and drag it over. And if you go to Window, Swatches, you'll get a big choice of different colors here. So for my fill, I'm going to pick a gradient. They give you some here, so you could use one of these 3. I'm going to go with orange. And then I'm just going to take off the stroke by hitting that little slash. And that way I just have a gradient fill like that. Pretty cool. All right, now we're going to use the shape builder, which is pretty fun. So I'm going to take it from one of these original ones. I'm going to take it actually from this one at the top. Okay. Alt-click and drag. All right, and then your shape builder, I think it looks kind of like a leaf or a snowman on its side with this arrow next to it. And as you can see from this little demo thing here, it will merge everything into one big shape for you. So for this one, I'm going to have you merge 3 of the shapes together. So let's click on the tool, and you can see when I hover on them, that's telling you where your action's going to take place. So let's go 1, 2, I'll just do it like this. All right, so at least for mine here, you can see that I use the shape builder on a few of my shapes to merge them together, just so I can see you didn't totally copy it from above. So it's pretty cool. It gives you a little bit more control about which objects you want to merge into one, which I thought was fun. All right, very cool. Let's scroll down a little bit more, and we're going to fill with overlapping shape vectors. So we'll end up using some of those guys from here too. Let's copy my gradient one here. Select, Alt click and drag, and they want you to insert these shapes into it. So they're actually the same for all of these. So how about, I'll just drag this one here, it's fine. Actually, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do the white. Alt click, drag that one over, and they want you to fill it with solid colored shapes. Okay, so looks like we've got like a circle. I'm going to Alt drag my circle, shrink it down, and I'll drag it into the middle like that. And you'll notice, oh, can't find it. Let's zoom in so you can see that. So if I click off of it, you'll notice it disappears. So we need to change like the arrangement of it. So I'll keep it there, but I'll right click, arrange, bring to front so I could see it there. Okay. Next one I'm gonna need, I'll need a star and I'll need a hexagon. So let's bring those guys over. Click, Alt click, drag, shrink, hexagon, this guy. Click, Alt click, drag, shrink. All right, zoom in a bit and drag these guys over. Again, I can't see it. Alt, right click, arrange, bring to front. Try and center that a little bit more. Drag it over. Right click, arrange, bring to front. And if you feel like your whole project's a little bit off, like mine is, I'm just going to draw that box around it, shift everything over. I know it's not going to perfectly align. We just want to get it close. That's what I'm looking for. Cool. So for the next one, I'm actually going to make it like it's punched out and it's hollow. So let's copy the gradient one for this one. Select, Alt, click, and drag. So I could take it from there and I could drag them over, but it's actually a little bit more work. If I just select what I had here, Alt and drag and bring it down, we'll do some work here. Number one, let's select that big background shape and let's make that a gradient. So I can go back to my swatches like that. Okay. And I think I'll take off the outline just to make it a little prettier. All right, so now I want to punch out these circles so it's hollow and I don't see this outline anymore. So I'm going to hold down Shift as I select these three shapes. And I'm even going to select my big gradient one. So I'm going to go back to my Pathfinder. If you closed it, you'll go back to Window, Pathfinder. And I'm going to use the second one, which is called minus front. Bam. So as you can tell, there's a little bit of the evidence of the one underneath it. So you can see that those outlines went away and that it's straight empty. So as I kind of drag it around, you can see it's like I punched out those circles and stars and hexagons. So that's pretty cool. For the next one and the last one, we'll select it again. Alt click and drag, except we're going to kind of swap our colors here. So we're going to make like an empty fill on the inside and a gradient on the outside. So I'm going to hit this little arrow here to swap it, but now I need those lines to be dotted. So we're going to go back to Window, Stroke, which we talked about earlier. And you probably have this really thin box with not much going on. So let's hit Show Options. Perfect. So we're going to change it into a dashed line, which is this little check off here. You can set it to different amounts of if you set it to 0, it's going to go back to a solid line. I'm going to set it to like 2 or something like that. You can change it to really whatever you want it to be. So I like to do 2 points and 2 points. I have to do it on 2 of them. And that way, when I deselect it, it's a little easier to see that you get a dotted line appearance. Again, it just needs to get close in the ballpark. I'm not looking for it to be perfection, to be matched, but I am looking to see that you attempted the gradient and that you attempted to make it into a dotted line. Okay. So ideally, you don't really have to do anything with this left sheet, just use it to fill in the right side of your sheet. Then we'll save it, we'll upload it, and we'll be good to go for episode 9.